Hi everyone. So today we've got a really neat project from a restaurant called Riviera. Now, I've done a lot of work in this restaurant, both fabrication and design. They have a 74-foot brass countertop, all custom furniture that I've done. But what really stands out in this beautiful space is the food. It is simply amazing. Matt Carmichael outdoes himself every time. This is the mushroom toast, and it is to die for. They also make all of their pasta in-house with a vintage pasta machine. But today, we're talking about the exterior. And there's a menu box that is just, fallen apart and dilapidated. So, with the theme of brass, I'm going to make it entirely from brass. We're going to have it lit via remote control and LED. And I think there's a lot of creativity that could be had design-wise with the knobs on this one. So let's have a look and we'll check out the fabrication. The main body and the door were prefabricated, laser cut and bent to my spec, soldered the edges, and right now I'm applying the crosshatch, which I find catches the light absolutely beautifully. And you do it with a couple of different brands of Scotch-Brite, and works out great. Once we have the initial scuffing done on the front, we're going to move to the sides. Now there is some blemishing from the process of soldering the edges and the corners. We don't have a video of that, unfortunately. My phone broke, and so now I'm using the new phone, which has a much nicer microphone and a larger camera angle aspect ratio, so that's nice. What we see here is just matching up the door panel after we do the initial scuffing on the sides of the main body. The hinges, you can see, are hidden inside. I will have a bit of foam, I think, to just cushion the door landing. And here we see I've cleaned up there's some gunk on the inside, and so I've done some acetone. I typically wash everything with acetone beforehand. It smells kind of nice. It's actually Beauty Secrets brand acetone, but they're not a sponsor. Here I'm laying out the laser cut letters for the Riviera, and thought I'd just throw in a, the little paper fucking thing where you pin the paper to it. As we can see, the letters are not fully polished, and they will be mounted with a double-sided tape. We were going to solder them on, but unfortunately there's a disconnect between some thicknesses. We couldn't heat it up enough. So I'm going to use some double-sided tape. But what I'm going to do is, right now, I'm going to scuff the letters, and then I'm going to literally hand polish them. I'm going to use my fingers and a Mother's Brand aluminum polish, which I find I've perfected a really interesting method, I guess, where it just uses the ribs of my fingertips, what do we want, the fingerprints, like the ridges. And so here we have a nice, a matte finish, much like the box. But I would like to have a contrast where we have, there's the mother's polish, where we have a very polished Riviera script on the really nice sort of hatched background. So this is going to be sort of 4 minutes of me literally hand polishing something, and I think I'm going to take the time to, one, describe the process. So you can see here, I dip my fingertip into the gunk, and I'm lightly rubbing it with some speed, and this is surprisingly taxing on the forearms, I gotta say. But here we go. You're gonna polish it until it turns a bit blackish, and then you're gonna leave it sit for a second, and then I'm just gonna use regular old paper towel to polish it off. And we're gonna do 2 runs, maybe 3 runs of the paper towel. If it's particularly scuffed up, we might do another polishing. And it's going to get really tricky on the smaller stuff because I have just giant meaty hands. So here I'm just covering the R. It's really, I found it really difficult not to bend the hell out of these things. And if you know what, looking at the Riviera that's left up top, the dots were just brutal. But I think on that, I guess I'll call it a pin pad, for the menu, I think I might do either a polished R or a scuffed R. I have an extra R, so whenever we do these laser cutting things, always have a couple of different, some backup letters and stuff like that, because you will inevitably lose, a little dot to an I, or, heaven forbid, an actual larger piece. So with the extras, you can do some added value. So I'm still just scuffing the hell out of this with my fingertip. And yeah, it's a messy process. You can see my other hand, the what I call the vice hand, getting pretty dirty. So yeah, here we go. So begin the constant stream of paper towel. So I wipe off my hand. This paper towel doesn't necessarily need to be particularly clean, because it's just going to get gunky anyways. And I tried, I started doing it like flat on the table, but it really is just you just kind of get it by hand, and you have to be both simultaneously abrasive and light to the touch. So you can see a sheen already starting up, which is fantastic. It's beautiful. And brass it does really polish up really nicely. So here unfortunately, I did move it below or out of screen, just because I had to get some close-up views, but I'm going to do my best. This filming thing's new to me, so, you do what you can. And then in further videos, I might make like a tape square on the table, just so that, I can see exactly where I need to do my work. It's really kind of strange filming and fabricating, because you do it differently. Usually, you don't care about the angle, you don't care about how it looks, but we find here it's easy to get distracted. So that's the first wipe down. I'm gonna wipe my hands off again, because I don't want any or minimize the contaminants from my hands, because as you start buffing this stuff off, if any of the gunk gets back on it, any of the abrasive gel, well, not gel, paste, I guess. If any of that gets back on it, you kind of start from square one. I gotta polish this thing again. So, yeah, there we go. We're starting to get a bit of a shine. And what's particularly crazy is by the third paper toweling, I guess you could call it, it really, there it's starting to really pop up. It really starts to shine. So after this, doing this R, I'm not gonna subject you to the full length of me polishing everything else. Oh, look at that, it's beautiful. What I am gonna do is I'm just gonna we'll do a time lapse again. We'll go back to the land of time lapse, which I absolutely love. So let's see what it looks like on, yeah, there we go. So I love this contrast, this super polished, or even lightly polished, honestly, with the scuff. Oh, it looks so good. So here we go. Manic fingers. You'll see as I progress, I do have to switch fingers, because it does get tiring, but you stay and you do it till the job's done, boys. So boys and girls, I don't know, man. I'm probably gonna edit that out, so we'll just sit back and watch this happen. Oh, those little dots were horrific. God, I hated doing those. I had to like wedge it under my fingernails, and then just bzzz with my thumb, and still wasn't quite there. I have to go back again. Oh, and there's the other finger work. Yeah, but we can see it's going to be quite a contrast. Now it will be on about 1 millimeter of double-sided tape, so I'm interested to see how that looks. Before we get to the double-sided tape, though, my lights came from Amazon. These are just, just some really simple LED light strips that have a neat magnetic clip. They have remote control, and they're rechargeable. I mean, it's perfect for the application. They have a cool light and a warmer color temperature. I think 2500K is the warmer one. And so I just I prepped the inside because it's going to be lit, which means, all the sins will show. And I double-sided tape and threw it in there. It was so simple. Look at that. And because of the depth that I designed into it, you don't really see the specular light of each LED. It's fantastic. Look at that. It's warm. It's like sunlight. I love it. Oh, so good. I could just sit and play with it all day. In fact, I did play. It comes with the remote controls, so that's also super neat. Now, the double-sided tape was a mistake. So I'm going to go through this. I got sharp razor blades, sharp X-Actos, change them out. X-Actos are cheap. They got to stay sharp. But it was such a nightmare. It was such a nightmare. I'd never do it again. That's what it comes down to. Because also, this is not straight line script, and the edges, while they did cut well initially, they didn't. They started to fray. Unfortunately, the foam that's between the double-sided tape was not terribly strong. I suppose with a more durable, this was pretty durable exterior automotive stuff, but the more durable stuff with a more rubberized mid layer, I guess, would probably work much better. But oh god, this was a nightmare, and I thought, okay, maybe I'll sand it a bit, or what? Oh, I hated it. It was the worst. So we switched tacks. We glued it on. So I repeatedly panicked. This was so tense. This was the tensest part. I've got my acetone that will eat the glue in case I spill it and mess it up, which I did a number of times. I glued my fingers together so many times on those horrible little dots. I hate them. I hate those little dots. But they did go on, and ultimately it does look spectacular. And I did achieve the polished look with the matte look, and oh, it looks so good, guys. Look at this, coming in with the swoop. Fantastic. I need a gimbal or something, but look at this. Tell me, that's not classy, right? Oh. Up next, we move to one of my favorite tools, the mini lathe. Now, you're gonna see me do a lot of stuff that, if you have any experience with a lathe, probably not the best idea. But here's the thing. At least I'm not wearing a ring or watches. So we start out with this little chunk. I'm going to be making a little knob, and just to keep the lid closed. And you'll see how it works a little later on. Here I am drilling the pilot hole for the tap. I'm going to do a 1/4-20 tap because it's such an easy tap to do. I can just do it by hand like I'm doing right now. I don't need any kind of fancy tools, just the right drill bit size. And actually, this drill bit is a little undersized. Next, I'm facing the part, and then I'm realizing that I don't have the 1/8 shim underneath my parting tool that I need. And there I am replacing it. Because, I'm human. It's what happens. So we flatten it. I am going to make the internal threaded portion of this, I guess you could call it locking, securing mechanism, let's call it. And so that I parted off. And next, we're going to do something really fun with that, that other piece. But next I've got... oh, this was funny. I thought I'd space it out. Didn't have enough grip on the chucks, so I gripped it myself. This was a learning process. I haven't used my knurling tool in a long time, and it's actually it's a little too big for this tiny lathe that has been through a lot. I've had this lathe for a while, and you'd be amazed at what you can do with a tiny lathe. But here I'm just I needed more threaded hole, so here we go. But anyways, so the knob itself is going to be knurled because, they got to go out to the menu box. It's probably wintertime up in Canada, right? And it's going to be cold, and I don't want a smooth knob. Who wants a smooth knob? So we're going to give it some texture. And, here I am facing, giving it a little bit of a smooth run. But here's the thing. It actually wasn't... it wasn't true at this point, and so you'll see when the knurling, which is a kind of a violent act, when the knurling starts to texture that piece, it's gonna fling it right out, and there you go, it's gone. So this is like lessons in work securing. You can see it even bend there. That was crazy. Okay, so here I am trying to figure out, well, how much can I grip with the main body? Doesn't work. And then I finally clued in. I'm like, oh, come on, dummy. It isn't true. So the knurling is actually literally pushing it out. So here I take off the taper and I true it up. And here we go. I put in the knurling tool that I had to move that slide all the way back. It is barely hanging on there. Which is why I said it was too big of a tool. Oh man, sketchy things we do. But it yielded a pretty decent result. And so really, I was like, okay, that's good. I've stepped it. It looks sort of Art Deco, heading down onto that taper. I'm just playing around, having some fun. And so, I part off on the bottom to clean it up a bit. And then, I just smooth out the end. That's really what it comes down to. I'm forgetting all my facing terms. and stuff for the lathe. I've worked on much larger lathes, but this is my tiny home guy, and he is a tank of a little 7x10 or whatever lathe. So look at that. I mean, that's a lovely sort of Art Deco knob. And it only took some like I think it was 120 grit on the end face to get a decent decent smoothness. There's the knurling, which is the texture, and while it's not a visibly heavy knurl, it does chew up your fingers a little bit, so they'll be able to grip it. Okay, this is the wild work holding that I've done. What I want to do is I need to fit this under a flange, a return on the box, and so I need to basically mill off and make it kind of almost like a hemicircle. This, it wasn't holding very well, and I had to tweak my space, always with the spacing underneath the tool. And he's just gonna fling out, boom, it's gone. Okay, so I fixed it, I secured it, and here we are. Just, you can see what it does, right? So this, you can also take like round stock, like 1/2 inch round stock, and you can use this, and it's super precarious to basically, take off almost half of a 1/2 inch round stock to make it a hemicircle, which has a surprising amount of applications, I gotta tell you. And the reason, what's funny, the reason I actually got into turning, I got into wood turning first, and then I got into metal turning, which I wanted to get into prior to wood. Like, it was the only one I wanted to do. I had a 1970 GTO, which I still have in storage. So, I mean, if you want to like and subscribe and help me monetize this so I can fix up my car, my GTO, and make it like wild, and then consequently make videos of it, please do like and subscribe. Which will absolutely help me get, maybe even a bigger lathe. But for now, I'm happy with what I've got. It's a poor craftsperson who blames the quality of the work on the quality of their tools, I believe, firmly. Though nicer tools do help. So here we go. And look at that. And now watch, this is my favorite part, that little pith, or whatever you want to call it. Because again, my work tool is not quite high enough. Oh, look at that. Now this is, I'm all doing this by hand. I'm not measuring, it's not a... it's not a computer-aided lathe by any means. Oh, and it gets balanced on there. I love it. So here you're gonna see. Look at that. I didn't even cut the chuck jaws. It's wild. Yeah. Oh, I leave the chuck key in the chuck. Caleb, never do that. So here's the mechanism. The knob is going to be epoxied to that bolt, and I'm going to round the bolt off, and then that center part is going to be under the flange and secured. Here I had to go to my mom's because she is an expert jeweler, and I needed this little notch done. And look, there it is. It's securing the lid. I say lid, but door, I guess. And there in the background, you can see how the mechanism sits. And here it is, looking beautiful. So this is an interesting one. The knob isn't actually attached to the door. What it does is it sandwiches the door flange, the return, and secures it very, very securely. And this way no one can steal the knob. So that's great. And so as we wind down our fabrication process, I'm going to give you a quick little tour. What I have here is a neat little product called Isoboard. It's usually used for sound attenuation in rooms, but it makes an amazing pin board for the menu. So it gives them something soft that they can place their menu sheet on. And yeah, it's a nice neutral color. It's kind of classy. It looks like white marble. And yeah, it does the job. It's very light. It's double-sided taped on. Works like a charm. Well, and that's about it. These projects, when they end, are always a little bittersweet. I get very attached to them. It's a labor of love kind of thing. But now I get to clean up, as you can clearly see by the photos. My workshop's a mess. Thank you so much for watching. Come see the next one. Like and subscribe if you'd like to. Bye.